Did you know that Google personalizes many searches by city and Also Ask is the only tool to access live People Also Ask data at city level? Try for free at alsoasked.com.
Tired of SEO guesswork? Quadra's AI agent goes deeper to uncover high-impact optimizations and completes hours of SEO in minutes. Get started now.
I was going to say that SEO with Fat Joe is as peaceful as this, but then the birds are all having fights.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so very much for coming here today. Good morning, everybody, especially the one that have done the party yesterday. Sorry, I'm still a bit adjusting on the stage. So today we are going to talk about one of the most widespread and unspoken source of stress of our modern and fast society, techno-stress. In order to make you understand what is tech stress, I'm going to show you some situation, and I would like that you try to feel something about. So, for example, tech stress could be something related to this. So when you are at work, you open your laptop and you find thousands of email, and then in the same time your manager is writing a lot of things on Teams, and then at the same time you have your call to reach. Too much. But tech stress is also when your computer crashed. This morning, for example, my pen drive didn't want to work and I wasn't able to bring the presentation. You say, okay, how am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? I will start to get a little bit anxious about. But tech stress is also when we need to deal with different apps, notifications as well. So we have X, Google, and then we have Instagram. Instagram especially, this is my friend Sarah that every day sends me this. And when I go back to work, I have to go every time through all videos, because if not, she say she's upset and I don't care about her. Anyway. Tech stress is also when we need to deal with our digital assistant. These are my parents. I got them Alexa for them to listen music in the morning, and they're not unfortunate. They come from the south, and they're not able to listen to say the word X properly. So Alexa becomes Alexa, 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 and this is quite frustrating, especially when you are on a holiday, you want to sleep in the morning, and you feel this. Luckily, you can change the name of Alexa in Dot or Echo. Echo is amazing. Oh, I love Echo. Anyway, for me, the most tech stress is this. You know it, huh? I'm on 645 days today, so yeah. But anyway, this for me is a very, so all these little things that we are laughing about, but each of these can become a sort of frustration, a sort of anxiety, a sort of stress. So what is tech stress? Tech stress is a form of, so when we are not able to cope on the way we use technology in a healthy way. So coping and healthy way, in a healthy way. What are the main causes of tech stress? Tech stress are exercise use of technologies. For example, we check our phone hundreds of times. There are studies that shows that we check our phone 80 times in an hour. Not because we need to, but because we are used to. And also information overload. We are exposed with hundreds of emails, hundreds of notifications, hundreds of reels, etc. We are not able to take it anymore, and also lack of work-life balance. So, for example, emails can chase us into bed. Work can chase us blends into dinners. So there are no more time boundaries. Tech stress is related to stress. But what is stress in general? So let me break you in a neuropsychological point of view. So stress in general is a non-specific biological response of our brain to an external stimuli, and our brain starts to produce some molecules like the cortisol. So what happened? There is a stimuli external, our brain starts to react, it sends a signal here in our kidney on the adrenal glands and produce cortisol, the famous stress hormones. But stress itself is not the evil. It's not like the villain of the situation. It can be positive and negative. In fact, stress is related to our performance. When, for example, we are in an optimal stress, we have a good level of cortisol. Cortisol gives us energy. It gives us the way to react to environment in a good way. So in a low stress situation here, when you have a very good massage and the head, I love that, your cortisol level are really low, and you feel good, you feel relaxed. Then you go to work, your boss starts to say, oh, we have a deadline, let's tackle it. And then you become like this cat, jumping on the computer, say, yeah, I can do it. I don't want it, but yes, I can do it. And so you are able to control your emotions. But then let's say that and then you go home, your cortisol level drops, and the next day you're fine. But what happens if the next day there is another deadline? Or you need to deal with other notification, you go to bed, you have the reels of your friends, you have Duo that is telling you, you have to do the strike, you have to do the strike. The cortisol level stays up, and you are not able to take it anymore. And slowly, your performance at work starts to decrease, because cortisol, we'll see in a while, can impact a lot your functions. And then, when you're not able to deal with technology anymore, you become like this panda, and you get burnout. You start to take anymore, you crush everything. How many of you feel like the panda, or have felt like the panda? Ooh, okay, that is not good at all. Anyway, so this is what happens to your brain. In a non-stress situation, your prefrontal cortex is able to control your emotion, and prefrontal cortex is the CEO of your brain. So it's like the one that is managing your attention, your decision making, and so on and so forth. But when stress levels are very high, cortisol is very high, then the emotional part, your amygdala, hijack the prefrontal cortex, and you start to become more frustrated, you're more irritated, and so on. So this is not a productivity problem, it's a brain chemistry problem. Cortisol is related to also muscular tension. When we are in a high level of cortisol, we are more sensitive to pain. There is like muscle stiffness also can create more pain. We have some problem in the way cortisol can also degrade the muscle protein. And there is like a feedback. So you feel more pain, you are more stressed, you feel more pain because the cortisol start to make you more tight in the muscle, and then you start to complain, you become more stressed. And it's a never-ending story, especially when technology doesn't give the way to stop. So, there is another chemical involved in tech stress, that is dopamine. Dopamine is the feel-good chemical, the one that gives a motivation and can give you it's help you in learning. Is when you eat a chocolate or you have sex or whatever, your dopamine levels start to boost your brain and your word circuits start to be activated. And guess what? When we like something, we watch a reel, the dopamine system is there. Yes, more, give me more. And basically, the social becomes like a candy, something that is instantly gratifying, colorful, shining, and something that wants you, designed, and you know better than me, to make you come back. What's the problem then? That here, when you are in this brain, that the brain craves it. So it's not that you go back because you want it, but because your brain is telling you, I want more. And this overstimulation can lead to mental fatigue. Especially, this kind loop can put you on cognitive saturation. You're not able to take it anymore. A reduction in tolerance to monotony, boredom, is something unbearable. And then loss of sustained attention. So basically, even reading a full-page article, no, bye. You're not able even to remember. And Dr. Clark Mark has studied how the advent of digital technology has impacted our attention span. I'd like to think that in 2004, our attention span was about 2.5 minutes. Now it's 40 seconds. After 40 seconds, bye. You don't care anymore. And this is a very big problem. And this is due to the doom scrolling. Scrolling, depends. So basically, is when we scroll a reel after a reel after a reel, there is a never ending. And your brain is like overstimulating. And this can cause there are different articles that shows that this is linked to memory problem. You're not able to memorize information. You're not able to even to remember what you have done the day before, or what task you had to complete. You need to put more energy about, and your brain is already tired. Sorry. This is not only a cognitive problem, it's also a social behavioral problem. Especially, this can create a new type of emotional syndromes like the FOMO. The fear of missing out that comes with intrusiveness of the social media. They have difficulties in disconnecting. There is a sort of dependence on external validation. We will look at this. And also, it brings you to an idealized reality. You're at work, You have to do a deadline, you're a bit stressed because your holiday is in a month's time, and basically you see this beautiful picture about Vietnam. Oh my gosh, look at him, so beautiful, and I'm here stuck. And you become more depressed because you think that other people's lives is better than yours. And this is not only a problem that is perceived by the user, it's a problem also from the content creator. These are two guys that were content creator, they were a couple, almost ready to get married, they bought a house in San Francisco, they wanted to adopt children, but then there was the fire, right? Remember the tragic fire in San Francisco, and what happened, the house has been destroyed. They spent some time off the social and decided to split. And people were reacting, oh no, why, no, etc. They say, oh, you never considered that maybe social media was putting too much pressure on our relationship and skewing our sense of identity. So it's not about also living your life normally, but it changed the way you live. They change how you perceive your life, just using socials. Luckily, nothing is going to the same direction. There is also the JOMO, the joy of missing out. So the way to take off some time off, enjoying the nature, spending time meditation, don't use the phone too much. But all of this is because there are a lot of effects of techno-stress. Psychological, we saw anxiety, that this leads to anger, apathy, fatigue, frustration, irritability, even with your colleagues, etc. It can lead to cognitive problems like memory decline, we saw earlier. Cognitive overload, but also can increase the difficulties in team working. The problem is also that when your phone is even on silent mode in your pocket, your brain unconsciously is linked to it and use energy for waiting to that notification. Or someone is telling me that I need to do something. So your brain never rests. And this creates cortisol, right? Cortisol, muscle problem, migraine. In fact, here we have different behavioral problems, procrastination, eating disorder, decrease in desire, that kind of desire. And then also psychological, we have even chronic fatigue. We can have cardiovascular disease. All this linked to how much we use technology. We are on our screen even more than 10 hours per day. Think about it. So how many of you check their emails before going to bed? Don't worry. I know that there's someone of them. Sure. Anyway, don't worry. You're not alone. Sometimes I do as well. But unfortunately, these seemingly harmless habits might lead to really, really damaging consequences, especially when our bedroom should be the place where we rest, should be the place for recovering. But when we turn on the phone, even 30 minutes before to go to bed, our brains start to go in craving modality or in attention, alert mode. And this can disrupt your melatonin level, even if you are using the blue light filters. So this is very important because melatonin regulates your memory process and the way how you feel rested. So less melatonin, even if you do sleep, is not a good quality sleep. So the next day, you feel more fatigue, you will become less sociable because you want to interact and maybe more irritable. So who are the most affected people? So are people with low digital literacy. So not even someone that doesn't know how to use technology, but even could be someone that is struggled to keep up with technologies, keep up with updates. Or people with some psychological vulnerability, people with depression, for example. Or people with ADHD. That are neurodivergent. So basically, people with ADHD have struggled to focus their attention. And when social, technology, Teams, notification, Alexa is not responding, or you need to deal different attentions, is unbearable for them. Adolescents, even if they are digital native, they are the most one affected because their prefrontal cortex is not already developed. The prefrontal cortex finished to develop around 20, 25 years old. In people that are neurodivergent, 30 years old. So, and then we have always on work environment. So people that, for example, when the work lives rent-free in your brain 24/7, burnout is just around the corner, right? In the related to employees, we have two main categories: operational staff and mid-managers. This is why, because sometimes operational staff with less confidence, for example, with technology, may struggle with constant updates, constant change. But managers, they have an extra layer of role stress. Why? Because they just not need to learn the technology, and they need to also understand. They make sure that their team knows the technology and is able to keep up with everything, but also need to make the expectation of the one above. So it's a social stress as well. Implication is for why so basic companies should care about tech stress, because there are a lot of implications. Organizational, productivity. In the productivity, for example, people that stress are less productive. Cortisol level is linked to our productivity. And then we have collaborations. We are more irritated. We are more tired. We don't want to collaborate. Innovation. Our brain is loaded, so it's full. How you can expect to create more? And this can link to burnout. And we know that changing an employee has a cost, not only a financial cost, but even cultural cost. So there are some strategies that we can use to tackle techno-stress, and these we can start with ourselves, with our soft skills. And these soft skills are the coping strategies. So what we use to deal with stressful situations, some of them are even unconscious. They are divided in three main ones: problem-oriented, so people that, okay, there is a problem, my mailbox is exploding, I take 30 minutes of time every day to deal with that. And we know that sometimes 30 minutes of time are not enough. Emotion-oriented, so people that, for example, this doesn't fix the problem itself, but helps you with your well-being. So you did a lot of Zoom calls, one next to another, you have a lot of work to do, actual work to do, but instead to tackle immediately, you decide, so I'm going for a walk, I need to rest. Maybe you will not able to finish the work, but at least your mind is feeling better. And then the avoidant, so this is good for a short-term relief, but maybe can create bigger issues over time. So for example, when it's 15 minutes before you leave from work and your colleagues send you like in Slack a message say, oh, are you free? Okay, I don't see it. It doesn't exist. Bye. So it's very important to understand what kind of profile we have as coping strategies to understand which one we need to use in order to tackle techno-stress. There is other skills like locus of control, how control we feel about technology. It could be internal, when, for example, I have the time to use the tech to manage the situation. Or external, when we see like the tech, like a beast, something that, oh my gosh, is overwhelming. Okay. And then resilience. So the way how we adapt. Resilience is like going to the gym. More, let's say, more we train it, better we are able to regain the balance over stressful tech situations. And it covers adaptability, stress management, and recovery. And you can work on this. There are different strategies to adopt. And related to strategies, there we are. There are different type of strategies that you can adopt to manage the techno-stress. Cognitive restructuring, digital empathy. Digital empathy is my favorite, towards yourself and others. If you're really interested in that, then call me and we can arrange a meeting as well. So there are different, digital detox is very important, digital awareness. There are so many things that you can adopt. One of these is this questionnaire that I made for you. You can find on my slides deck. And if you go through these questions, you will be able to understand whether the technology is giving you problem, where you are able to cope or not with the technology, and how you can improve, what kind of action you can do in order to tackle. This is part of the cognitive reconstruction. Is one of the techniques. So we understood that tech can be sometimes stressful, but there are also technologies, apps that we can use in order to tackle techno-stress. For example, Headspace, Forest, Fitbit. It tells you every 15, 20, 45 minutes it's time to move. And if you don't move, the cortisol level stays there. But if you just go for a little walk, that's very important. Cortisol level drops. You listen to music. Music is amazing to relieve stress. Even 3 minutes of music can help your brain recover. 3 minutes of music. So what are the takeaways that we can take here? First of all, remember, balance isn't a luxury. is something that we need, is a survivor skills. And we need to understand what are our coping strategies, what are our self-skills, how we use them in order to cope with this technology that is changing so fast. Now AI, even more. And then remember, technology, AI, social, goes to impact on your brain in an unconscious level. So you will never be conscious about how you're feeling or what is happening in your brain. And this is where we need to pay attention. There are other chemicals involved, other neurotransmitters that we need to count that I didn't mention here for time, but we need to pay attention to that. So it's very important that we find time to log off wisely. Try to remind your tech who is the boss. Try to control it. So arrested brain is a productive brain. And companies need to understand this. More I rested, more the brain feels rested, more is productive. So if you don't address techno-stress, if we don't address techno-stress, we don't just lose attention or memory or we have muscle problems, but we can also lose our self of identity. Thank you very much.